The purpose of the 1-week mini Manners and Leash boot camp is to get Bentley to a point to where his owners can handle him so that we can move forward with training sessions together in the future. Here is his progress with leash work while with us. The goal of each walk is to have a loose leash. Especially with his breed, we want to avoid as much pressure on the neck as possible. Due to him being prone to overheating, use caution when being outside for long periods of time. Continue with this leash work at home. You're going to need to continue with treats for the next couple of months. The purpose of working with treats in every situation for the next couple of months is to build value in listening to you. If your dog does not value listening to you over what he wants to do on his own, there will never be a good relationship, and he will see no need to do the things you want. He has been trained with the clicker as well as a monotone yes. What this is just a uniform way for me to tell him he did a good job without getting him overexcited. When I stop, he sits. This is not an option. It brings his focus back to me. What I am doing is I am saying the word yes only when he does the exact thing I want him to do. So when he on his own moves beside me in a way that I like, so his head is squared up on my leg, I tell him yes and issue a treat. This further clarifies exactly where I want him on my leg, as well as builds value in that position. Make sure when you give treats on a walk that you give them in line with your left leg. If you give him a treat in front of you, or if you give him a treat out of place, that is going to be building value in being in front of you or being out of place. This can create problems like crossing in front of you or falling back too far behind you. The key with using treats properly is to use them to build value in everything that you find desirable. I'm also working with the look command. This is very helpful for times of high distraction. It also helps teach him focus and patience. Never give him a treat for looking at your hand. Only say yes and give him the treat if he's looking directly into your eyes after the look command was issued. Make sure he's not pushy with you when you go upstairs. It's very important that he be beside you or a little bit behind you for your and his safety. Also, dogs use body language to communicate, and by pushing you out of the way to walk into doors, he's being very bossy and he's not really minding your positioning to him. This is not something that we want. We want him to always be mindful of our location and proximity to him. We also want him to be patient with us and allow us to make it through the doorway before he barges through. Here I am working with no set path. Dogs rely a lot on pathing to decide how they're supposed to walk, but by taking them off of a path and working with them on focus, look, sit, and heel, this is solidifying the things that we've taught him. It is also increasing his focus on us because it's requiring him to rely on us to cue him on where to turn, walk, and sit. Notice the small collar corrections as well as cues that I am giving him with the leash and collar. I like to use this as a line of communication between me and him. It's very important that you correct when you see him begin to step out of line. This is going to prevent a pulling contest between you and him. He is a very strong dog, and regardless of what type of collar you're using, he can easily push right through it. So it is very important that you get that correction in right before he starts to move too far forward or to the side, and pay very close attention to if he loses focus on you. You can see some little wrinkles pop up on the top of his head, and he kind of braces with his front legs, and that's how you know that you are really about to lose him. He's really focusing on something else. So what you want to do is you want to issue a light collar correction before, as soon as you see those wrinkles appear, so that it's not a pulling contest between you and him. You can use the look command when you see people or other animals passing by, and that helps keep his focus on you instead of the things passing by that he really wants to go be friends with. He displayed no aggression of any type while he was here, nor did he show fear of anything, which is really wonderful. I like to have dogs sit before I cross roadways just because it is a lot safer to get their focus back on me before we cross a road. Start off working on walking in your house and then in your backyard, and once you're comfortable with that, then move outside to daily walks. I want to see you very confident with the leash and collar and walking him on that leash and collar before you venture out into high distraction areas. If at all possible, begin working on a quiet road where there aren't quite as many distractions as you see here. Make sure not to walk him without treats, and make sure if anyone comes over that he is leashed so that you can give him treats for the proper behavior as well as discourage improper behavior. I do recommend that at least for the next 2 weeks you keep him fairly leashed within the house. So that means anytime you know he is going to act up or get overexcited, that he is fitted with the prong collar as well as a leash. One thing you can do is you can use a regular collar and a leash with the handle cut off so that he can drag it around the house. This is going to give you a little extra control. This is kind of working the same way that we typically use the e-collars. This provides you just an extra line of defense from him successfully completing a task that he wasn't supposed to, such as jumping up on someone. You can stop it very easily, therefore it's not reinforcing that behavior of jumping up. It's very important that for the next 2 weeks you remain very, very consistent with everything that he has been taught so that we can move forward and that he does not experience any form of regression. This is a very delicate time for him. He's just learned these behaviors. He's going to try to test you. He may test every person that works with him. He was pretty consistent with me as well as Ryan. So he may not test each individual person, however some dogs do. So lots of treats, lots of praise, all to build value in listening to you and to build a stronger relationship between you and him, so that in the future when we do remove treats, he is more than happy and willing to listen and comply.
Off. Good boy. Sit. Wait.
You want him to sit before exiting
Go ahead.
the kennel
Good
or to
boy.
go outside.
Off. Good
And on
boy.
the off command as well for when he gets overexcited in the mornings and jumps up. Here's just a bit of an example of how he's been doing with being calm. I've been using the word settle for when he gets a bit too overexcited. You're going to want to have him sit to put the collar on because it's going to make learning how to fasten that collar a lot easier on you. And it also gives a great opportunity to have him sit and be calm. What you're seeing right now is a bit of a settle drill. This is where I saw him actively seeking attention and pets, so I told him to settle, and I waited until his bottom was planted on the ground for me to pet him, and I tell him good and good settle and give him lots of treats. Continue to do this, and if he is to get up off of the ground, simply stand up, back away, and stop petting him or showing him attention. This is going to help him continue to learn that by being overly rambunctious and by jumping up on you, he is not going to get what he wants. He's not going to get any attention because we don't like that. He is a very, very sweet dog, so he wants that social interaction a lot. So he's learned this and picked this up very quickly.
Good settle,
I didn't
good boy.
expect to be able to actually get on the ground with him
Good boy. Good settle.
in
Good
this
boy.
1 week,
Good
but he
settle.
went ahead and
Good
surprised us,
boy.
and
Good
he's been
boy.
sitting nicely.
Good
I can
boy.
sit on furniture
Good
with him
boy.
around without him jumping on top of me,
Good
and he is
boy.
happy to sit for pets for a pretty decent amount of time before he gets ready to get up and walk away. I also worked with a couple simple household tasks like bending over and picking something up, because a lot of times that does excite dogs. I also worked with sweeping and worked with telling him no and to move away.
Leave it.
He did very, very well, as you see there. He left the pile of dog food that I was sweeping up and was happy to back away from me when asked. Make sure everyone in the household is very consistent with not letting him jump up on them or get rowdy. He's probably going to be very excited on his first day home, so make this is the perfect opportunity for you to be very consistent with everything he's been taught here, and to work on settle and to work with the treats. Make sure you have treats sitting by the couch, by the door, in your pocket, anywhere that's easy to access, because it is very, very, very important to build value in him listening to you. Make sure you have him sit and wait before exiting the car. Again, for the time being, word this highly with treats, because he had a very bad problem with just jumping right out of the car, but by using treats and getting him to focus, he's been doing very, very good at just sitting and waiting until being released. The release word we've been using is go ahead. Have him sit before entering or exiting every doorway, and if he's being particularly rambunctious and unfocused, have him also sit when he goes outside. So, for example, you're going to leash him like this, you're going to have him sit, you're going to reward that sit, then you're going to open the door, have him wait, tell him he can go ahead, and when you get to the other side of the door, have him sit again.
Look.
Again, this is only for if he is being very overly rambunctious and excitable that day. Make sure the collar is high and tight on the neck before any walk. And also make sure when you're using the collar to not create any constant pressure on the collar. Creating constant pressure is going to be constantly issuing a correction to him, and this is what we don't want to do. We want to have him be very, very sensitive to the collar corrections, as opposed to learning to try to pull through that pressure. Make sure not to pull him back into place with the collar, but rather issue a sharp correction. You can see it multiple times in the video. I simply pull up quickly and then release quickly. So I pull and then I punch the ground. Very, very sharp and quick. It's far better to do multiple quick corrections like that than to try to pull him into the positioning that you want. We're not wanting to force him into a position, we're wanting to issue a correction and then have him make the conscious decision to do what we had said on his own accord. This creates a learning environment rather than just manhandling him into submission. We want dogs to learn. We don't want dogs to feel forced to do those things. Because a dog that truly wants to obey you will be reliable in all scenarios. Here you see an example of me working on him and moving away when I walk through. This is helpful when you're bringing in groceries or when he's just particularly in the way. I was also working on being able to sit down on the ground. He would excitedly run to me, and then I would teach him that I'm not going to touch, pet, or give him a treat until he is sitting on the ground calmly.
Good boy!
Another note on the prong collar. The reason we do those sharp, quick corrections and then immediately let go is because we are simulating a mother dog saying, hey, no, don't do that. So only a bad, terrible dog would ever bite and hold. So we never want to bite and hold. We always want to bite and release and just say, hey, and get his attention. Have him sit and wait patiently for food. And again, once you've set the food on the ground, if he rises up, make sure you lift that food away. Don't let him get the food until you have issued the go-ahead command.
Good boy. Sit. Leave it. Go ahead.
This is just another example of some work on a staircase. So I was having him sit before the staircase as well as after the staircase, teaching him to focus on my positioning in regards to him so that he didn't trip me up on the staircase. Kind of helping him realize, he's big, he could trip me up, so he needs to be very respectful of me. I look forward to our next session.